Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Dawn Patrol. I'm Cliff Krieger, your host. Eileen Delrossi is phoning it in from the shore. And we have with us Regina Faticanti.
Good morning. How are you?
So you live up in Christian Hill?
I live I live in around in the St. Michael area, so we call it Lower Centerville. And so, Cliff, will you let me make the announcement?
Well, first you have to tell me, how do you spell Centerville?
Centralville, the way it's supposed to be spelled. Now, Cliff, it's Centralville.
I hear it. Spell it slowly.
Centralvi.
It's center, C-E-N-T-R.
Well, it's actually Centralville. But
yeah, Regina's right.
We just call it, with our slang, we call it Centerville, which sounds like center and ville, but it's really Centralville. And I think that's probably was some indication of the fact that it lies in the middle of everything. So let's call it Centralville. But, with the slang, we just call it Centerville. I just even call it Centerville. I've lived there all my life. So that's how you spell it, Cliff.
You've lived here all your life?
I lived in Lowell all my life, yes.
You've never lived outside of Lowell?
I've never lived outside of Lowell.
Hampton Beach now.
Well, I have residence in Hampton Beach, so I do live there on, weekends and sometimes in the summer. I have to tell you my big Hampton Beach crisis that happened yesterday too, but so now that I've spelled Centerville, can you let me make the announcement?
Sure.
Thank you, Cliff. So yesterday I got a text from a friend of mine. It was a article that had appeared in some newspaper. I don't know the name, and I'm not going to give anybody any credo, but that Paulette Renault Karajanis is running to be my district councilor in Centerville. And I welcome Paulette to the race. Paulette ran a number of years ago, and she did well but didn't win. And at the time, I think she was pretty dismayed that she did not win. But I'm really happy to see that she has thrown her hat into this race, because I think that it gives people in Centerville some choices about who they would like to have representing them. I think it's great. So Paulette, congratulations. Thank you for taking on the challenge, because it's a lot of work. Her kids are grown, gone out of college and on their own now. And I'm sure her husband is going to be up in Bridge Street holding signs. And I'm just really very happy that she's going to be a candidate for city council.
I'm not happy.
How come?
She hasn't called me to come on and talk about it.
Well, you know what? Hope maybe she's listening, and she will now call you. But this was just just happened yesterday.
I saw this, but I saw it as half a headline.
Oh.
And it says, running against COR. And then it cut off.
Oh, Corey Robinson.
And I thought, holy smoke, a fifth person in Belvedere. But it turned out not to be so.
No, there's no fifth
District
person in
2.
Belvedere, District 2. So it's my district, it's up my home base of Centerville. And so I'm glad to welcome her into the race. So now we'll be able to, I think this means we're having a primary?
Preliminary, yes.
Preliminary?
Yes.
So hopefully people will be able to have, and I know that, so with my neighborhood group, hopefully we'll have a meeting before the preliminary, and both candidates will be able to come to the neighborhood group, and we'll get to ask them some questions.
Yes, that'd be good.
Go ahead.
And
Sorry.
what we don't want is we don't want minimal turnout like Tingsboro at 3% and Tewksbury at 8%. People need to vote. It's the only way to keep
I
politicians
agree.
in line.
I agree.
If you get a
This
big,
election is spicy, so I think a lot of people will come out.
I hope you're right, Eileen. I hope you're right.
Yeah.
I think that.
Now, Paulette, when she ran prior for city council, it was when it was the at-large system?
Yes,
so
it was at large.
It wouldn't
Yep.
be like it is now?
Nope, it was at large. So it has to be 15, maybe 20 years ago?
yeah,
Oh, wow.
So, but it was at large, and she did very well. In fact, I think I still have one of her nail files. So, so I don't know what she'll be, coming up with for this campaign, but I know Paulette will work. I know she'll door knock, because I think you have to, because she is a new person into the race. Some people know her citywide, because Paulette, she was a nurse, and then she went over to, she worked at Lowell for a number of years, and has a pretty interesting resume. So I think she's got good contacts. She'll be able to raise some money. Like I said to John McDonough this morning, she has the ability to raise some money, because she has, she knows a lot of people from the university world. So I think it's going to be an interesting race.
great. So the temperature's 69, and I think it's a little muggy.
I agree.
It had been down to 65, and it's going to 79. So,
Yesterday was intense. I sat out by my pool yesterday, and I got sunsick.
Really?
Yeah, just from being
You
out
should have
there
sat
too
in the
long.
pool.
I'm sorry.
You should have sat in the pool.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Regina?
I said you should have sat in the pool.
I was.
Oh,
I was in
really?
the pool. It was just like the sun was just so strong yesterday.
So I have a big container, a hat box at my house. My mother was famous for wearing a bucket hat. And I now do admit there are some benefits to the bucket hat. And I bring them up to the beach, and before everybody leaves to go out to the beach, I say, go in the, the hat box, grab a bucket hat. Because you gotta have your head covered. You have to, you gotta have your head covered, right?
No, after yesterday, I completely agree.
So, so you've pulled papers, right, Eileen?
Yes, I just
Okay,
pulled
glad to
papers
hear
on
it.
Tuesday.
Glad to hear it. All right, very good.
I'm going to be strategizing about a party.
Excellent. I'm very happy to hear that.
Thank you. Hopefully by next week, I'll have something up.
So when your other colleague gets here, I cannot,
Yesterday,
oh, that was yesterday. Look at that. That was pretty darn hot.
97.
Whew. No wonder why we have to talk about my car overheating situation too, Cliff.
okay.
You've had a rough week, huh?
Yeah, oh gosh, you have no idea. I did have a rough week. But I'm resilient.
So, but first we're going to talk about McDee's background. In 1631, the sack of Baltimore.
The sack of Baltimore. But wait, can we just talk about real briefly before we get into the history that there is a Sean McDonough running for city council, and I want to say it's District
3.
7?
7.
3? Is it 3?
Is that
4.
John's district?
District 4?
District 4, he was here yesterday.
And who is Sean McDonough?
Nice kid.
Yeah.
Lives in downtown. He's a school teacher at Lowell High School,
Nice,
and looks to be in his 30s.
good.
He got one kiddo, married in downtown Lowell. He's going to run
Nice.
against Wayne's Nest.
That is a good thing. That's a very
Sorry,
good thing.
my mic was not on. He's in his
I-
30s.
Okay, very good thing. I'm very happy to hear that there's going to be some, again,
But he's
some
running District 4.
competition.
You're talking about Corey Robinson and, what's her last name?
Paulette Renault Karagianis.
Karagianis. And she's running to both District 2.
Yes. I think Paulette's husband's dad was Was he former military or former?
Well, her husband was a former city councilor. He was
Yeah,
appointed.
her
He
husband.
was appointed and he lost.
Yes, her husband took on a seat from somebody who had vacated the seat. And he did a nice job. I gotta, I gotta pat him on the back. He did a nice job. Again, two people who are raising their children in the city, and they were very involved in the city. So I appreciate that. Cliff? 1610?
1631, the sack of Baltimore. The Irish village of Baltimore was attacked by the Barbary slave traders. How about that?
That's unbelievable. Get
Yeah.
down to Lizzie Borden, because I got some news on that.
We're on our way. 1819, the U.S. vessel SS Savannah arrived in Liverpool in the UK, the first steam-propelled vessel to cross the Atlantic. Although, you have to admit, most of it they did under sail.
Okay. Hey, they got there.
1837, King William IV of England dies. He's succeeded by his niece, Victoria.
Who was a great queen.
Yes. And let's see, 1840, Samuel Morse received the patent for the telegraph. 1877, Alexander Graham Bell installs the world's first commercial telephone service in Hamilton, Ontario. So that was a ways back. Now, here we go. 1893, Lizzie Borden is acquitted of the murders of her father and stepmother.
Right. So just to,
Please.
go ahead. You want to continue, and then we'll go back to Lizzie? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to continue on Lizzie,
Okay.
because I like the line, close the door, lock and latch it, here comes Lizzie with a brand-new hatchet.
Lizzie
Because-
Borden took an axe, gave her father 40 whacks. When she'd seen what she had done, she gave her mother 41.
Yeah. So, you can't chop your...
Really?
You can't chop your parents up in Massachusetts. Massachusetts is a far cry from New York.
Right.
This was a big
Was Lizzie
song.
Borden from Massachusetts?
Yes, this is a Massachusetts
River.
case. Fall River, yes.
So the
Oh,
tune,
wow.
the song about Lizzie Borden made it big on Broadway in 1952 in a show called New Faces 1952. That's where Eartha Kitt got her start.
Oh, great singer.
Yep.
Regina, can you read these
Wait.
two?
Pardon me?
She chopped up her
Read these two.
parents?
No, you're going to
Read
find
these
out.
two
Okay.
messages, please.
I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be hot. It's summertime. Exclamation point. Thank you. The person is saying, it's going to be tough for the challenges. Most people are thinking about the beach, summer, and vacation. And to the person who just sent this, you are right. But hopefully, come Labor Day, people will be back into the groove. They're going to be going back to work, going back to school. And that's when people are going to have to say, oh, wait a minute. And the preliminary is early this year, John, I think, right? It's early, I think it's
September 9th.
September 9th, right? So people are going to have to,
So it's a good time to get your name out there
Yes.
before the people leave for the beach.
that's very good
The only
advice.
time you have, right now. Get it out there and get it out there as quick as you can, because people are leaving for the summer.
So I know Danny Finn, who is going to be up in your district, Cliff, he and his daughter Nora have been door knocking 2 hours every night.
Oh, wow.
Because, again, he ran a few years ago, but a lot of new people have moved into that district, and he needs to reintroduce himself to those people. So every 2 hours a night, he is door knocking, saying hi to people. His daughter Nora, who is his campaign manager, actually makes him go because she said, Dad, that's the only way people are going to get to know you. So she is
Ooh,
spurring.
there's another option.
What?
He could come on City Life, except he apparently lost my number.
Who, Dan Finn?
Yeah,
Oh, I'll give it to him.
all right.
So,
And then there's the fourth candidate who just won't reach out.
then, I was going to say, then they don't deserve to be named, but who is the fourth candidate?
Gendron?
Oh,
Erin Gendron, yeah. I remember when John first reached out to me, I felt like honored and famous.
Absolutely. And you know what my mother told me, Cliff, a long time ago? You ain't got anything nice to say, keep your mouth shut.
They'll all call Monday because there's no show for 2 weeks.
Of course.
And they'll act
Of course
like they're interested.
Of course they'll call Monday. Absolutely.
They'll call Monday.
Okay, but Lizzie Borden,
Yes,
sort of like Karen Reed, got acquitted.
yes. So she was found not guilty. Now, we can go back and talk about Karen Reed in a minute too, but Lizzie Borden, so just the back history. Lizzie Borden, her sister and brother were raised by a stepmom. Lizzie Borden's mom died when she was in infancy, and her dad married a woman who was a little younger. Lizzie Borden's father was wealthy, and I think so now we're talking about adult kids. I think Lizzie Borden was 32 when this took place. We're afraid that Dad's going to pass away, and our wicked stepmother is going to get all the money. So I think the kids thought about let's hatch a plan. Now, people don't realize that Lizzie Borden's brother was in the house that day. It was a hot summer afternoon. Lizzie Borden was on her fainting couch, relaxing, because it was so hot in the house. Lots of people who have looked at that case since have now come to the conclusion, number one, Lizzie Borden didn't have the strength to use that axe in the way that it was used, number one. And number two, I like this. So let me read it right now. So back in those days, they had a version of the Karen Reed story. Yes, they did. Excellent caller. Excellent. They had a version of the Karen Reed story. So
like a Brian Walsh too.
oh,
who chopped
right.
up his wife.
Yes, we can talk about him also. So people now surmise and have come to believe that it was not Lizzie, in fact, who did her parents in, but it was her brother, who had much more strength than Lizzie did. And remember, Lizzie was not found with any blood on her. And the servants heard water running, and it was because I believe the brother probably took a tub, washed all the blood off, dressed, and they called police. But it was people who have gone back and really looked at that case surmise that it was the brother, not Lizzie. But Lizzie was the one that everybody knew was in the house, and she was easy to blame. So let's blame the female because, we're less inclined to want to convict women because we just can't believe that a woman would do something like that. But popular sleuths now believe it was Lizzie's brother.
Was she ever tried?
She was tried and found not guilty of almost a
No,
full.
Lizzie's brother.
I don't know his name. Let's call him Mr. Borden Jr. Let's call him
Okay.
Junior. But Lizzie's jury was almost all male, and they were older. Again, a group of older men, not wanting to think that this young woman could be actually able to do something like that.
Oh, wow.
So, but thanks for bringing it up, Cliff. I appreciate
never
it.
tried, even though there was speculation.
Pardon me, say that again?
The brother, Lizzie Borden's brother, was never tried,
Never,
even though there
nope. I don't think there was a lot of big speculation back then, but I think as time went on, people started to realize, hey, wait a minute, I don't think it was Lizzie. And then it came out that the brother was in the house, but I don't think prosecutors were in any way inclined to have another trial.
Right.
But yeah,
Wow,
she
that's
was
unlike
the
the
Karen
Commonwealth
Reed of
now.
1860. I'm sorry, I talked over you. Say that again, Eileen?
I said that's unlike the Commonwealth now. Look at how many times the city has contested even Dominic Lay, and then who else? Karen Reed, the second trial.
Right.
They do it all the time on our taxpayer dollars.
Absolutely. So this is hysterical. Did Regina just say it was hot during the Hatchet murder? It must have been because of global warming. Now, I'm not really sure I'm a big believer in all the global warming stuff, but because every 200 years, our planet does go through a warming phase. So I think we're in maybe a warming phase, but last winter did not show me we were in a warming phase. It was a pretty cold, snowy winter, but that's okay. So yes,
Okay. So back in 1944, the experimental German rocket, the V2, reached an altitude of 176 kilometers, becoming the first man-made object to reach outer space. I thought that was pretty interesting. And following on with that, in 1945, the U.S. Secretary of State approved the transfer of Werner von Braun and his team of Nazi rocket scientists to the U.S. under Operation Paperclip. I'm not sure they were Nazi rocket scientists. I think they were rocket scientists. That's a little
because
editorial.
why would we be patting the Nazis on the back? That's what I don't, so when I read, you said that to me last night, sent it to me, I read it, and I said, why would we give the Nazis a pass? So that makes it more clear, Cliff.
1948, the Deutschmark was introduced in Western Allied occupied Germany, and the Soviet military administration in Germany responded by imposing the Berlin blockade 4 days later. Well, it was a tense moment. 1972, Watergate scandal. The 18.5-minute gap appears in the tape recording of the conversation between President Richard Nixon and his advisors regarding the recent arrest of his operatives while breaking into the Watergate complex.
Cliff, would you address the question on the screen?
So how does Colonel Krieger plan on spending his 2-week vacation from the show?
Spending time with his wife.
And how is Martha?
Martha's doing well.
I'm
They
glad
had
to
her
hear it.
sitting up for about a minute yesterday.
Okay, good.
Which was a big jump from of the previous day. So
I'm glad to hear
she's
it.
coming along. And then they put her in a chair and I drove her by the piano and she used her right hand and played a few notes. And
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Nice.
sweet.
That's awesome.
So, Watergate. I was in England in '74 when the big issue was hot. When was Nixon going to resign? I'd walk into the library every day and the librarian, Tom, would say to me, Cliff, when are you going to resign? So,
They started
Yeah.
asking you in 1974?
what?
They started asking you in 1974 when you were going to resign?
He was making fun of Richard Nixon, and the question of when was Richard Nixon going to resign. You and Regina probably wouldn't appreciate this, being Italians as you are,
Uh-oh.
but I would go into the library every morning, and because I could read the Stars and Stripes for free. And at the time, one of the cartoons was giving Polish jokes. I think it was BC.
I'm half Polish too, Cliff, so where are we going with this?
Okay, so the assistant librarian, whose father had flown with the Free Polish Air Force in World War II,
Tom's dad.
did not understand the jokes, so I would translate them for her.
Oh, I love it.
So everywhere it said Polish, I would say Irish, and she would laugh. So every country's got its groups.
Yes, it does. It does.
So I said to a priest I ran into in the Philippines who was Irish, and I told him the story, and I said, so who do the Irish tell jokes about? And he says, people from County Kerry. He says,
Oh.
a policeman in County Kerry in the trees? He's a special branch man.
Oh, gosh, I love it. Okay. Okay.
So in 1975, the film Jaws was released in the U.S.,
Got to talk about Jaws.
becoming the highest-grossing film at the time and starting the trend of films known as summer blockbusters.
Toom, 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 toom.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
You hear it, and you know the shark is appearing.
Yep. So, you like Jaws?
Oh, I love the movie. I think it did a lot for tourism at the Cape. And I was saying to John earlier that there's a ride in Disney World that actually it's a water ride, and actually has a Jaws feature in it, which is pretty cool. Especially if you're 5 years old and you think that thing actually looks like a real shark, but that's okay. I think that movie created an awareness about sharks. So now we have Shark Week, right, on TV, where marine biologists follow and track sharks, track their whereabouts, their comings and goings. And I think people come to the Cape in the hopes of finding a big white, right? It's amazing that you can be standing in, knee-deep water, something will brush your ankle, and it'll be a sand shark. I don't ever want that to happen. Let me knock on some wood here, right? But I think it really created our awareness of, the predators of the deep, and what they do. But Jaws was a great movie. Every time it comes on, I got to watch it because it was a great movie. And then there was Jaws 2, not that bad. But the time the third Jaws came around, I tapped out because
Okay.
But the first one was a great movie.
Eileen?
Yes, I was never into the Jaws. I didn't like the goriness of it.
It was gory.
Yeah, I have a hard time watching anything like that.
I do
But
too
yet
when it
you're
involves
all
people.
politics.
Very true, Cliff, very true.
That's a contact sport.
So, in 2003, the Wikimedia Foundation was founded in St. Petersburg, Florida, which gave us Wikipedia, which is pretty good.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Okay.
In 1783, Wolfe Tone was born. He's an Irish rebel leader who died in 1798. You know Wolfe Tone?
I do
John?
not.
Cliff.
That's me.
I could go out on Highland Street. Actually, I could walk down Hampton Beach Boardwalk and ask this character's name, and not a soul would know
Nope.
him. Not
No
a
one?
soul. I was married to his sister. What was his sister's name?
Cougar.
Jezebel.
If his name was Wolf, was
I
her
made
name?
that up. I was married to his sister.
How about 1947, Bugsy
who-
Siegel
Who
died?
was
Do you
this?
know
Who
who
was
Bugsy
this?
Siegel is?
Who was
Yes.
this famous person? I could get on the boardwalk. Well, Regina, I'll give you a microphone on Saturday morning. You can walk down the
Okay.
boardwalk, see who knows. The first character, who?
Wolfe
who's-
Tone.
Wolfe Tone.
Never heard of him.
Nope.
Well, the British didn't like him.
Who was he?
He's an Irish rebel.
Okay.
Whoop-de-doo.
All right.
Any
1940.
relation to Chef Wolfgang?
Oh, Cliff, when we get back from vacation,
Okay.
you're going to get 2 minutes to do this. Now, here's 2 minutes of ancient history. What was Fred Flintstone's cousin's name?
Barney.
1947,
How many
Bugsy
times was
Siegel
Wilma
died.
married? How many times was Wilma married?
Wilma was only married once. She
So
was
far as
married
you
to
know.
Fred.
John, you've lost control. So, you know who Bugsy Siegel is?
Yes. He ran the
Apparently
mob in Vegas.
He was a gangster.
Yeah.
So, today is West Virginia Day in West Virginia. And
What are you doing to celebrate, Cliff? West Virginia Day.
I'll probably needle my grandson.
He's going to sing that John Denver song.
So, you know why we have West Virginia, right?
No, tell me.
Because when Virginia seceded from the Union, West Virginia seceded from Virginia.
Oh, so did West Virginia go back to the Union?
Yeah,
Okay. Didn't know that.
and today is World Refugee Day. It's just sort of the way I feel. So Eileen,
Yes.
Karen Reed.
Acquitted on all the major charges except an OUI for that night, which the defense is actually the ones that put that option on
Yes.
because they didn't want a hung jury again.
Absolutely,
And they
very smart.
figured, yeah, it was a good strategy.
Excellent strategy. Because sometimes juries, there you are, Eileen, sometimes juries just need to convict on something, right?
Yeah,
So-
especially looking at the family the whole time
Right.
and how upset. Because
Yes.
it is such a tragic situation.
It is tragic. And sometimes they just need to, now I've sat on, been called for jury duty 4 times, sat on 3 juries, right? Sometimes the jury just needs to find something. And they were able to hang their hat on this DUI charge. And
Yeah.
I think that they felt that, and that's why they asked the question about, when they came back and asked the question about the legal blood alcohol level at certain times, you could tell that's where they were heading. I think that was, I think that, Karen Reed will now be on she'll be on probation. Now, that means she might still be wearing that ankle bracelet for the next year, but,
Did she really have an ankle bracelet?
I
think
believe
she had an ankle
yeah,
bracelet.
I think so. I think she might have had an ankle bracelet on this whole time. And she'll have to go to classes. Now, she can register for class, then go
The
down to the...
24D classes, is that
Yep.
what they were talking about?
Go down to the RMV, show them that she's registered for this class, and get what we call is a Cinderella license. So a Cinderella license lets you drive from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So
Wow.
if she goes back to work, or she needs to go to a grocery shop, she'll have that
She ain't
license.
gonna get that.
Pardon me?
She's not gonna get that.
She's already got that, you said?
She is not going to get that.
You're probably correct,
Because they don't give Cinderella licenses to people.
okay,
They just don't. You get caught drunk driving, you're walking for at least a year, sometimes 2 years or longer.
okay.
Cinderella license doesn't, to my knowledge, does not exist in Massachusetts.
Okay,
You
But
study
it's
it more than I
crazy,
do.
before they even convicted of her, she hasn't been able to drive. They took her car, her license been suspended.
Right.
Like, and that's the craziness of this whole situation also. They took her life away before there was
Right.
ever even a conviction. And DUI wasn't even on her indictments.
nope, you're right. So I take it you've been following the trial carefully?
I'm completely obsessed.
Me too. I got it, me
I got 2
too.
for you to read here, Regina, then we'll go back to.
So, it says, forget about Jaws. How about the land sharks on the Cape, Bart? So, what's a land shark? Help me, Bart. I need some help here. What is a land shark? Eileen?
I know it's a type of beer,
Beer? Like
land shark,
to drink
but
beer?
I've never seen a land shark.
So, can Bart help me understand what land shark means?
Okay, well, we'll see what happens. Second one.
It says, in 1943, Fairmount Street gets a fresh layer of hot top. And that was sent in by Jay.
Yeah, Jay, not without reason, is obsessed about the fact that Fairmount has been allowed to deteriorate as a way of traffic calming.
Oh, really?
No, the city stinks. City has poor management. I know you disagree with it, Cliff, because you do, but I think we have a poor manager. He's a rich guy, $1,000 a day. I shouldn't use the word poor. Terrible manager. A rich, terrible manager, $1,000 a day guy. Regina, one more, and I'm going to put that on the
Please.
screen here. And then we'll go back to.
Oh, now this is interesting, Eileen. The next thing for Karen Reed is her fire starter book.
Something for the fireplace.
Pardon me?
Something for the fireplace.
Something for the fireplace? Well, I think that, I think Karen Reed, I know Turtle Boy has a book
Yes.
deal and a movie deal. And,
Yes, and-
so we know that already.
Yeah, I think Karen Reed is going to be set for life, as is Turtle Boy, and I believe that the Commonwealth did do them wrong.
I
in lots
agree.
of ways.
Turtle Boy's name is Aiden
Aiden
what?
Carney.
Aiden
Aiden
Carney.
Carney.
Aiden Carney. So he does this blog. Now, he's been blogging about the wrongs of different police departments for a number of years, right?
Yeah, 10
But-
years. He used to be
Yes.
a high school teacher.
Right, but all of a sudden, he latches on and starts to look at the facts of this Karen Reed trial. And he starts and he's a good investigator because he starts making phone calls. And he starts to realize that Karen Reed is being railroaded. And, and
But
he
it
starts
wasn't
to,
even until a year later.
Yes.
That's the crazy part,
Right.
because he thought, what an unfortunate incident. Like, he just felt horrible. But as more and more information came out, he just went off with it.
yes. And so, Turtle Boy, Aiden Carney's life has been made miserable in this case. He actually served 60 days in jail for harassment.
Witness intimidation.
Witness
They used the
intimidation, thank you.
Witness intimidation statute
Right.
against him.
And he's got, Eileen, how many charges are there pending against him right now?
There's so many. I want to say 20, maybe.
Okay. So I'm wondering
All the
if,
different.
if now that she's been found not guilty, if some of those are going to go away. I don't think so, because I think they're out for blood in Norfolk County.
You have a
Well-
vindictive police department.
Oh,
Tom.
I
You have
agree.
vindictive state police
Right,
department.
I agree,
And from the get-go, this should have been a federal case.
right. I
Yeah.
agree.
I
Oh,
think
wait, why should it have
Karen
been?
Reed's acquittal is going to flip this Commonwealth upside on its head and make some major changes.
Well, I think you might be right about that, because let's also understand, you mentioned earlier the Brian Walsh case. So
Proctor,
Proctor
yes.
was also the lead investigator, State Trooper Proctor was the lead investigator on the Brian Walsh case. Brian Walsh allegedly killed his wife when she told him she wanted a separation. Now, she was the breadwinner in the family. She had just got a big promotion at her job, and she was moving. She was moving out of state and taking her children with her. And Brian Walsh, he wasn't going to have that. He was not going to have that. And he killed her. Now, fortunately for Brian Walsh, everywhere you go, there are cameras. So there are cameras of him buying the large garbage bags, and there are cameras of him buying the plastic tubs, human-sized plastic tubs, and cleaning solutions. And Brian Walsh, who never lifted a finger in that house to clean anything, is going to have to explain that. So that, but the problem is that Proctor investigated that case too. And all the cases that Proctor has investigated, if I'm a defense attorney, I am asking for all those cases to now be reviewed, because
Yeah,
Proctor
and-
has tainted everything.
Yep. But it also goes to show that Proctor knew how to do a good investigation with the Walsh case.
Yes, I agree, because he did I agree. But he tainted that case now with the way he handled the Karen Reed case.
Which is crazy, because Karen Reed was first, and if the Commonwealth
Right.
was smart enough, they could have prevented all of this.
So, hey, Bart, let me read this. Where is Michael Morrissey these days? Ha, ha, ha. Norfolk County elected a complete loser. Now,
Loser.
now, Bart, let me just say that Morrissey always has a big summer time, is it what, that's we call it in Massachusetts, right? Political party. And it'll be interesting to see how many people are going to be at that political party. And
Yeah,
because I don't want to be tainted now with the stink coming off Morrissey. Right?
And I heard yesterday on the news, I believe, that Michael Morrissey's challenger in Norfolk County for DA called for him to resign immediately.
I don't, he's not going to.
She has the prettiest glasses,
so-
too.
They're going to hold on to every last piece of power that they possibly
Oh,
can.
absolutely.
Before we move off this topic, Karen Reed isn't totally out of the courthouse. She still has the civil suit, right?
Yes, she does.
And
Yes.
it's not, the standard is lower for a civil case.
Yes, it is. That's how OJ got found guilty for the civil case of killing his wife and her friend.
Well, what evidence is there to support the civil case?
Say that again, John, I'm sorry. What evidence is there?
To support the civil case.
So now,
Proof that she ran him over.
right, and so now that evidence just got blown up in the criminal case. So if I'm, obviously, Karen Reed's attorneys, whoever is going to defend her in the civil case, is going to point to all that evidence from her criminal case, which, the prosecutor's evidence was blown out of the water by one, this guy took 20 years to get a degree, hasn't got a degree yet. Right, okay? The dog bites, oh no, those are shards of glass. No, they weren't, they were dog bites. And where's Chloe? Right, Eileen, where's Chloe?
Where's Chloe? Where's
Right.
the house? Where's all
Right.
their phones that they got rid of?
Right, and the rug that was in the basement, so
Karen Reed got that.
she got that
Parts of
rug.
it.
So do you want to tell the story?
No, you can.
Oh, okay. So Karen Reed gets a phone call that a guy's driving through Canton and he has a rug on the back of his pickup truck. And they believe the rug has come out of the Albert's house. So Karen Reed gets a hold of this gentleman and says, hey, can you bring that rug to my house? Don't worry about it. I'll dispose it. He said, I'm supposed to be bringing the rug to the dump. She, don't worry about it. Now, Karen Reed has the rug, but what Karen Reed doesn't
in a
have,
temperature-controlled storage unit.
right, what she doesn't have is good chain of evidence. That's why the rug was never introduced into trial, because she does not have a good chain of evidence.
Explain chain of evidence.
So, chain of evidence. I stabbed somebody with this pen. The police will come in, take the pen, they wear plastic gloves, they put it in a brown paper bag. Why a brown paper bag? Because when you put it in cellophane, the DNA begins to degrade. And it's folded over, okay, sealed, call it bagged and tagged. I write on it, this pen came from the Smith murder, okay? That is then unsealed at when we're going to actually look for the DNA on this, and so the seal is broken. There's no legal chain of evidence with the rug. Okay, I took the rug out of the Albert's house. I'm not law enforcement. I'm a guy who's hauling junk. That's my job, right? And so there's no way to say legally that rug came ripped right out of the Albert's house, because it has no legal seal on it.
Even though they used shop and stop bags and red Solo cups that they led into evidence.
Right, absolutely, Eileen. Even though the chief went to his car, where did he go? He went to like a CVS or Walgreens or something and bought the bag of Solo cups?
Well, no.
Or did they come
right
from his
across
car?
the street from Brian Albert lived the Lieutenant Kelleher.
Okay,
one of the big bosses in Canton, and he gave them the Solo cups and the Shop and Stop bag. And then, even though Turtle Boy went to his house, it saw that his Ring camera had a perfect view of in front of 34 Fairview,
Right.
that there was nobody, all of a sudden, nobody had Ring camera footage in that
Right.
area that night.
Right, and so you can't tell me that that Ring camera did not pick up, so if there was a collision, that Ring camera, and they would have heard it in the house.
Right, exactly.
So I think that it was a travesty of justice, and here's the problem. Somebody killed John O'Keefe,
Yeah.
and that person's out there. And when Karen Reed said, "I've been fighting for John O'Keefe since day one," she was right. Because
I
she
agree.
showed that there's evidence to prove that someone else murdered John O'Keefe. Now, I don't ever think that the Meatball Morrissey is ever going to open up that case again, because it involves his cronies, right, his friends.
Right.
And if it were one of us, we'd be down the river without a paddle right now, right? So the unfortunate reality is, John O'Keefe still has not found justice, and that is a true travesty here.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. And that it was so shoddy. I believe, like, that Brian Higgins and Brian Albert knew immediately that the injury that he had incapacitated his brain because of all of their training,
Right.
and started making calls right up the chain of command, maybe even to the governor, right, Morrissey, all of the connections that they have, Mass State Police, and this was put into place overnight.
Oh, it was put into place within hours. So I agree, something got put into place, and it got put into place within hours. Yes, absolutely. And she was the perfect patsy, because she you know, she did have some arguments with John O'Keefe, and she had some arguments with him, sometimes in public, and you know, so they figured, hey, she's the perfect patsy. I agree with you, Eileen.
Yeah.
Well, the
And
good
Higgins
news-
going to the Canton police station right after drinking all day.
Right,
It just
so-
doesn't add up.
So the questioner says, "What do you think, Cliff? Time to take back the show." Okay, we'll give the show back to Cliff. Thank you,
All right,
caller.
good talk.
Yeah,
Thanks.
We have other murder cases that we'll be able
Oh,
to discuss
okay.
over the summer. I did want to say that John mentioned the Russian bombers being out in the open, and he was correct about that. That's a requirement of the START Treaty, a Strategic Arms Control Treaty that expires next year. And plus, it's tough to make shelters for aircraft with a wingspan of over 160 feet. The
would
Russian
know.
Bear's 164 feet. The Bison's 165. The B-52's 185. But yeah, the aircraft we've taken away from the nuclear force, we have changed them so that Russian satellites coming over can count them and say, yeah, they're part of the nuclear decommissioned force. So John was exactly right about this.
Now, what's to prevent the U.S. or Russia from creating cardboard cutouts, replacing those planes at dusk? So you leave the cardboard cutouts on the runway,
That's great.
and you think it's still there.
So John's saying.
What kind of, what kind of camera are you using?
Satellite camera.
Okay, is it IR or is it,
Cliff,
if
that's
it's
top,
infrared,
that's
it
top
might
secret.
tell the difference.
That's top secret, and to quote one of my friends, if I tell you, I have to kill you. So don't leave out the disgusting.
So don't leave out how disgusting the local news has been towards this story. KR. I agree with you, KR. The local news has been, really not.
Infotainment, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, John's right, infotainment. And the local news has not treated her, has not treated Karen Reed well.
Because they're all connected to all these people in government too. And
Right.
if it wasn't for Turtle Boy Aiden Carney really going deep and actually investigating this, then nobody would even really know. It would all fly under the radar.
You're right. We should all have a turtle boy. Right?
He's definitely opened my eyes
Yes.
to seeing it. And if you were to go onto his blog, you kind of see who the people are at WCVB that are connected in that situation, and it's interesting.
Oh, that's interesting, Eileen. I did not know that. Okay, I'll have to take a look.
Yes.
But I want to ask Cliff a question, since Cliff has the military background. Cliff, give me your impression of what's happening now in Iran. What do you think is going to happen?
My impression, and I've written off to my wife's cousin to see what he thinks, because he sort of knows the situation. He
Okay.
had headed the Middle East History Department at Columbia University
all right.
before he retired. The Shah had asked him to write an encyclopedia for Iran.
Oh, all right.
Which he didn't do, which meant he wasn't there when they,
When Iran fell,
yeah.
when Persia,
So my impression is that Israel is doing a pretty good job of eliminating the nuclear capability and the missile capability from Iran. But the real question is, what's going to happen with the Ayatollah? I hate the way the press disparages us older people, ageism. But anyway, he's 86.
Cliff, no one could disparage you. You have a mind of a hawk.
So I think that there is a chance that the people of Iran themselves will finally decide that if they stand up to the police, that they'll be able to overthrow the regime.
Okay. So I know the,
And that's an important thing. Not the U.S. doing it, not Israel doing it. The people of Iran have to do it.
I agree, because they need to take their country back.
Yes.
And in my opinion, enough people have been killed, and I don't want one American soldier to be to be in that position. I believe Israel should be able to run their own country. I truly respect that, and we all forget that this started when Israel was bombed, when hostages were taken, and Israel was just going around its business, and it was attacked.
No. You forget, Israel was shutting off the power to Palestine whenever they felt like it,
I did not,
for years.
okay, didn't realize that.
So how happy would you be with the power company?
I
They
would
shut
not
your
be
power,
happy.
like yesterday.
Would you like to leave?
Shut it off.
However, so I would think that the members of the government of Palestine would figure out how to get their own power.
They don't have a government.
Oh,
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
They elected Hamas.
Okay. well,
right,
Cliff,
they elected these
What would you do to shut
bushwhackers.
your power off yesterday?
What happened yesterday?
If the government shut your power off yesterday, how would you feel about it?
I would be unhappy.
Okay.
But
They've been doing it for
unfortunately,
years. They've been doing it for years.
but the real problem, John,
Don't tell me Israel didn't do anything.
the real problem is, my family, a long time ago, lived in this house. We want it back.
And I'm going to go to break. We'll be back. Thanks.
Okay.
Come over to the show. I'm sorry.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to City Life Show. I'm Cliff Krieger, your host. The co-host, Eileen Delrossi, is hiding out on the shore.
Good for her.
I'm on the beach.
And
Great place to be.
we have Regina Faticanti here, and we've just been joined by Fred Bahou, who is running for office. I'm holding this sheet of paper up, hoping that the producer, John McDonough, will come take it from my hand and sign it.
And you can pass that over to me, and
Piece of paper in a minute.
yeah, and I'll walk that over in time.
I'll sign it before Freddie goes.
And we hope Eileen gets her paper signed too.
So
Yes,
I
I
would
will.
say
I'm
we,
going to have a party. Fred, are you having a party?
I don't know that I'm having a party. I'll figure that out, and if I do have a party, it'll be either in September or October. So it's not coming up this summer.
do you have an opponent yet?
I do not.
Okay.
So, we'll figure that out as it goes along. So is there a need for a party if I don't have an opponent?
Were you a district or?
I'm district,
What
right?
district are you?
I'm District 1, which would be comprised of 1 and 8, actually, the Highlands as well as Pawtucketville.
So, Fred,
That makes no sense.
I'm confused.
It's on the same side of the river.
I'm confused. Fred, I thought the purpose of
Good morning.
elections was to have parties.
Well, they're more so for fundraisers and maybe to get your message out and to find some sign locations.
I thought it was just to have
But it's
fun.
not always about the fundraisers, I don't think.
Okay.
I don't think so either. I think Cliff's being facetious here.
Do you think?
I think so. I think that you have a party so people can decide if they're going to do dear friend cards for you, or get some sign locations for you, or will you agree to do some sign holding for me on Tuesday morning, at XYZ's location, right?
Sure.
So I think that's another reason why you have a time, right? It's what we call it in Massachusetts. And you got to get some do-re-mi so that you can, I don't know if people take ads in the paper anymore, but maybe do some stuff on the radio, whatnot. So, and to purchase all the stuff that you need.
Sure.
That represents you during your campaign.
And there's a lot to it, right?
Right,
There's
absolutely,
the
gosh,
literature,
yes.
right?
Yep.
There's also a mailing, if you'd like to
Yes,
do a
yep.
mailing. There's also purchasing, like you said, the
Right.
signs.
And all the, right,
And, if you do have an event at a location like the senior center.
Yep.
Then you may want to be able to buy coffee and donuts
Right.
or pizza for the
Absolutely.
people that come through and such like
yep,
that.
absolutely.
So, yeah, campaign events are really important.
Yes, they are.
And then, like you said, dear friend cards, people
Yep.
that want to hold signs for you, that all makes a big difference in a campaign. And at that point, you have people that have skin in the game. that,
Right.
really want to back you and will share that
Yes.
information out and about.
Yep.
And they told two friends and they told two
Yep.
friends.
So,
Yes, thank you, Joe.
So I just saw that Zoe has decided to run citywide. I'm so glad that she has made that choice. She was going to run in my neighborhood, but I think her talent is far better suited to run citywide. And so I'm good for Zoe that she's going to take up the mantle of running citywide.
Absolutely, no doubt. You know, it's always nice to have candidates.
Yes.
And then she's more of a, not only citywide candidate, but more of a global candidate. She understands what education is all about. She's worked within the Lowell School Administration.
You know, it's interesting that you say that because, so here's a question I have. Was she not the first person without a master's degree to be hired by the superintendent?
Not entirely sure of
Yeah,
that.
I think
never
I might
looked
be
at
sure
her
of that.
degree, okay.
Yeah. And so what amazes me is that everybody, she knows she's not working there anymore, and I'm not going to get into why, because that would be just supposition, but it amazes me that everybody else needs a master's degree. She must be incredibly talented to have not needed that master's degree.
Yes, she worked in the DEI office under, no, I can't think of it.
Letitia Phillips?
Latifah Phillips, yes. And, you know, it was a well-run department. But unfortunately, you know, she decided to leave her position. Latifah ended up getting in this interim superintendent position over in Pittsfield. So we're
good
sort
for
of,
her.
yeah,
She's
she will be leaving, yes, at the
Oh,
end of,
that's
you know, a week
good
and a
for
half from now.
her. How exciting.
Yeah, so she's very excited to have that interim
Oh, I
position.
would
And I
think
think
so,
she
yeah.
could be
I would
very,
think so.
and I think she could be a
And
full-time
she's
superintendent.
got broad experience. She's from California. She taught in Japan.
Yes.
Uh,
She's an international person.
Yes.
She really is, and she understands education. And I know she spent some good time over in Arizona as well.
Yeah.
So she's really understands the needs of
I did not realize she was leaving.
cities and
Right.
and the communities that do not really have a lot of prosperity. So she would be a true benefit to a district like Pittsfield.
Excellent, good for her.
I did reach out to her and ask her if she wanted to come on the show a few weeks ago, and she said yes, thumbs up.
Okay,
Great.
so she can come on and talk about all of the wonderful things that she did for the Lowell School Department during her tenure. I hope she brings a list of all her major accomplishments, because that should be praised.
Yes. But in the meantime, I saw this news article that says red states have left blue states in the dust in education achievement.
I don't doubt that.
I don't know. I did not read your notes. I could say the red states might be less populated. School districts a little bit more manageable. Blue states are a little overpopulated in the sense of, you know, places like Lowell and Lawrence and New Bedford and Brockton, and their school districts just seem to be a bit overwhelming. So I don't know. New York is a blue state, and they have a huge population. However, you know, upstate New York, I don't know what their numbers, what their graduation rates look like, what their attendance rates look like, what their students do upon graduating. So, you know, and so my thoughts are unfounded. However, the populations can sometimes be a little overwhelming for school districts.
Utah is, I think, fifth in the nation for education. They spend less than $11,000 per pupil. Their teacher-to-pupil rate is higher. They have more students per teacher than other states, but yet they're doing well.
Talk
Fifth.
to me about their multicultural numbers, their ethnic numbers.
I looked at
How many-
their
how many limited
immigrant-wise,
Yes,
they're pretty well in the ballpark.
so what is ballpark?
You know,
Meaning like any other community?
5%, like any other state.
Okay, so 5%, whereas
But
in
you have
Lawrence, it's
touched on an
98%.
You have touched on
And Lowell is 70%.
Right,
You have touched
Yeah.
on an important point, though.
yes?
Utah, the marriage rate is like 55%.
Well, because
Yeah.
Utah still, unfortunately, has plural marriage.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, everyone
Did
gets
you
an
not
extra
go to
mom.
college?
I didn't go to
Did you not
college.
take history?
Yes, 1854, the Utah wanted to join the Union, and we said to them, we'd love to have you, but you got to do away with that polygamy thing, okay? So the government of Utah went to the Mormon Church. Mormon Church said, okay, we'll do away with polygamy so that we can join the union. And that's when the Mormon Church split. A lot of people went to Mexico because they still wanted to be polygamists. So yeah, I remember a little bit of history.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you guys a question.
Yes.
This is juicy rumor time.
Oh, yes, please.
Juicy rumor time.
Oh, I'm excited.
So
I'm
Cliff,
excited. I love it.
at one time you were a wing commander for the United States Air Force.
You were, Regina?
No, that would be you, Cliff.
I think that would be you.
I didn't even enter an Air Force jet.
Go ahead, John.
So, knowing wing commanders, is it okay for a wing commander to sleep with any of his or her assistants?
You know, I was going
I'm going to ask Cliff the
similar
question. Then I'm coming over to you, Sheriff's Department, in just a minute.
Thank you.
Is it okay? Morally, legally?
Both.
Is the Air Force, that's no problem with it? The United States Air Force, do they have a problem with a wing commander sleeping with a employee, one of his or her?
Subordinates.
Subordinates is the word, what-
Wife or spouse. After the court-martial, no.
Did you
So,
ever
okay, well,
hook up
just a
with one
minute,
of the
Mr.
subordinates?
Smarty Pants.
Eileen,
It's
that's
a yes or no answer.
That's a yes answer. Court-martial.
What?
No, Eileen, not to your question, to
See,
the
he's
court-martial.
giving him a side answer, so
So what was your question, Eileen?
Oh, it was inappropriate.
never mind.
Did you ask me if I'd ever slept with a subordinate?
Yes. Or a subordinate's wife.
No.
That's classy. I knew you were too classy to do that.
I did as well, Cliff. Congratulations. Good job making the correct.
So my
moral
takeaway from your
decisions.
answer, Cliff, is it's not okay to do such a thing.
It's not okay.
That's what I was looking at, but you gave me court-martial. Oh, Regina,
Yeah.
you work for the Sheriff's
I
Department.
do, but I
And you're,
can't.
you're familiar with Sheriff's Department. Don't tell me you can't comment.
Not at the Sheriff's office,
You're
but I
familiar with Sheriff's Departments around the country.
Yes. Yes, I am.
So, is it okay, generally, for the sheriff to sleep with one of his subordinates?
Never.
Okay.
It creates an imbalance
Okay,
out in the
I couldn't care
relationship.
less. It's not okay.
Never.
Now, Fred.
Never.
Fred, you're a school committee guy.
I am.
Is it okay for, generally speaking, a superintendent, whoever he or she might be, to sleep with a subordinate?
Of
Is it
course
okay?
not.
No.
No, it does. It does. It does
Now,
not.
now we'll ask
John,
the,
not be
Right.
well informed misses
Right.
the real issue.
I don't know why we're asking these
I'm
questions.
going to ask Eileen
Which
next.
is trouble across the country, which is teachers sleeping with students.
Well, we'll get
Now-
to that in a minute, but I want to stick with this for a second.
Now, just a second. Now, Eileen, is it, with your broad view of school superintendents across the nation, is it okay for the superintendent of schools to sleep with a subordinate?
I do not think so. And neither do I think a principal should sleep with a teacher they're supervising. But I know in this district it's happened several times.
Now, I'm going to ask you two school committee people,
And it happened when I was on the school committee too, so I can vouch
ask
for
you
that.
school committee, and I'm not saying this is happening anywhere around here. I'm just saying it's a juicy rumor. Is the city liable for that? I'm sorry, not the city, is the municipality liable for this action?
No, as long as you know the right people and they can put it under the rug and if we don't talk about it.
But if you don't know the right people and you bring a lawsuit, then yes, the municipality is on the hook.
Understood?
Absolutely.
Thank you for your answers.
So is this all about Buffalo?
Have you been
It's
buffaloed?
all about, people in government don't realize, first of all, every text message you make on your personal phone that has to do with work is evidence. Every text message. But it's my personal phone. Did you talk about business on it? That's what happens. So people don't realize text messages are evidence.
Right, and John, you are, I consider you to be an IT expert, because you manage all this stuff very, very well.
It's a hobby, yeah.
You also know that it all goes into the cloud, and that people who have experience can make that cloud rain and have that information come from the cloud so that they can look at it. And so when you are sexting somebody, you should always remember
I don't
it's
know,
never private.
I don't know anything about that stuff, and I don't know what, we go to a lot of communities, so I'm not saying that it's your community.
Right.
That this could be going on, but it just flies under the radar, and people call me, tell me different things about different locations that we broadcast to, and it's just an interesting thing how the people who work in administration just look the other way.
Well, sometimes the administrators are the people who are doing the stuff they're not supposed to be
So
doing.
now we just look at how, getting a broader picture here, the Karen Reed corruption case of the law enforcement authority down that way, it seems to be statewide. We just ignore the rules.
I think some people are in a position where they can, they can ignore the rules.
You mispronounced that word. It's pronounced nation.
What?
It's nationwide, this corruption.
Thank you,
But
Colonel Smarty Pants.
unfortunately,
Did they call you Colonel Smarty Pants when you were the wing commander?
no.
Cliff loves, Cliff, you know what, to the school teachers out there, if you are running behind in homework, correcting homework, give it to Cliff. He loves to correct papers. He loves to correct. Back over to you, Cliff.
So the next time we have a Monday show, we ought to get Mike to talk to us about what's going on in Buffalo.
Who's Mike?
Mike
Mike Smith,
He's
the Florida
on the
guy.
Monday
Okay.
show. Because there has been a lot of corruption and a lot of cover-up of teachers having sex with students.
Now, that's illegal. So,
Yep, and it's considered a form of trafficking.
yes, and
Child
it's
trafficking.
child abuse. Now, I teach criminal justice, and I've taught at other colleges in the Commonwealth. And when this issue comes up, sorry, gentlemen, but men have a little different opinion than women do. So I would ask a student, and now I've taught law enforcement for many years, 10 years. And I would say, so it's okay for a 16-year-old boy to have because you cannot consent till you're 16, right? Intercourse with the teacher. And they would say, yeah, that's great. Oh my gosh, look what a lucky kid. Okay, now it's your 16-year-old daughter. Okay, my 16-year-old daughter, I'm bringing my service revolver or my throwaway piece down to the school and I'm killing the teacher. So why is it different? Because it shouldn't be. It's still child abuse. It's still sexual assault, regardless of whether that is a male or female victim. And teachers should never be able to, lord that type of authority on their children. So Mr. D is correct. The conflict started long before October 7th. Both sides have dirty hands. The government just needs to go to a third-party app that you're allowed access to to get your information. Thank you for the caller.
Like Signal.
So
Yes.
wait, let's talk for a second about a typical case.
Okay?
Emmanuel Macron. Has anybody ever heard of Emmanuel Macron?
Yes,
French
and his
president?
wife is his former teacher.
He just got a slap down on a plane, didn't he? Did he get a slap down last week? The guy who runs France?
He got a slap down right when he was coming out of the airplane. Apparently, him and the wife were having an argument. She took and smushed his face and gave him a little slap.
And then he said, we're into that stuff.
And
Oh, my. That's how he,
That was my takeaway
his-
from what I heard
because
on
then he
Sky
turned
News.
his face and realized he was standing without any cover, and everybody in the world just saw the slap down. And he said, we were joking, we were laughing about something, and it was not a slap in anger, it was in fun. Okay.
well, at least he's quick on his feet.
But Macron met his future wife when she was his teacher. And they fully admit that they had intercourse prior to him turning a legal age. Not okay.
Not a good thing.
Not okay.
Wow. Welcome
Right.
to Europe.
Thank you, right. And so thank you, that's perfect. Because that thought process is exactly correct. Welcome to Europe, because we would not stand for that here.
That's correct.
Now, what was the famous case? Eileen, help me. She had several.
Billy Letourneau.
Ah,
Joe
thank
Letourneau.
you. the Letourneau case, and Billy Falau. So, again, he was 13. She was a 35-year-old woman, and she would have she would have him come over to her house, and she would have intercourse with him in her house, and she got pregnant. Not okay. And she did
A
time.
couple of times.
She did, well, she did, yeah, she did, she actually went to jail for that. She actually went to jail, as she should have.
As she should have, for
Right,
sure.
as she should have, absolutely.
And now Billy Joe, I think they had two, they got together after too and had another child after she got out of jail.
Well, they were married for a
wow.
number of years, and they're divorced now. But they were married for a number of years. I think they have like 3 or 4 children. But you're right, I think, in fact, he used to smuggle things to her in the diapers of his children. She would smuggle love notes to him in the dirty diapers when he would come to visit, or when his aunt would come to visit and bring the baby. So,
Oh.
the caller's saying, and he also lied about getting slapped. Another greasy politician lying to the public. Yes, caller, you are right. Because I don't think that was a love tap, okay? I think that was a full-on slap. I agree.
Oh, I thought that she was just caressing his cheek.
John, do you have the video?
Is this the French president's wife?
Yes, yes.
Another,
Mary Kay Letourneau actually passed away in July of 2020.
She was very young when she passed.
Yeah.
In fact, her husband divorced, took their 2 children, and he moved to Hawaii. He couldn't get
Yeah.
far enough away.
And on that note, I'm gonna do the announcements.
Okay,
So I'm gonna shut your mics off.
Now it's working. Okay, cool. So announcements for the day. Today, it being Friday, every Friday, from June to October, 2 to 6 p.m., they're going to have a farmer's market. And it's at 350A Dutton Street. They're going to have fresh vegetables there, games for the kids, all kinds of good stuff. If you're interested, go over to your TV or your computer there, take a picture of this slide. I'll leave it up for another few seconds. And 350A Dutton Street. Now, where is that? Okay, you go down Dutton Street. You're heading towards City Hall. Instead of taking a left on Broadway, at that left, take a right. Go over a bridge and open your eyes. I think it's on the left-hand side as soon as you go over the bridge.
So you're saying it's right behind the new courthouse, John?
At a good distance.
Yeah.
Good distance.
So
Good
you're
distance.
over that bridge.
Good distance.
Access the courthouse.
Today is June 20th. So if you go over to the senior center around 10:30, they have a nice gal, her name is Tara, $2, $2.50 maybe. You're going to have battered fish with tater tots. And the good news is if you don't have the $2, they'll let you eat for free. So the only rule is you got to be over 60. So if you're over 60, head over to the senior center today and get battered fish with tater tots. Tomorrow is the big draw. Tomorrow they're going to have shepherd's pie. The Lowell Senior Center has lunch 7 days a week. Pretty cool stuff. Oh, I think I'm a week ahead. Sorry. Erase that. It's going to be traveling chef pasta today. Still, tomorrow's a good feedback, man. Sausage and pepper and onion, that sounds delicious. Then Sunday, lasagna and vegetables. Sounds good stuff. Moving out to Chow Mein Chelmsford. They don't do the weekends, but they do every other day, do weekdays. And today is the 20th. They're going to have pizza, meat and vegetable, cheese and tomato, cucumbers, pears, and ice pops. Yummy, yummy. Sidney Lang, he's having a party tonight. You're cordially invited to a fundraiser to elect Sidney Lang, District 7, the Acre and Lower Highlands campaign kickoff Friday, June 20th, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Club past temps, 317 Moody Street in lovely Lowell, Massachusetts. If you go take a picture of this, there's a QR code here. Tell you some more information about Sydney Lang. And so, hope you can make it tonight, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Neighborhood meetings. We talked about this a little while ago, neighborhood meetings. In all the neighborhood meetings for lovely Lowell that the police are aware of, they put this announcements out there. And I meant to go to the one at St. Anthony's last night, but I just ran out of steam. I went to Paul Rathiem's party. He had a good crowd, yummy food. Thank you, Paul. And so the next one's coming up, Lowell Downtown Neighborhood Association. It's coming up June 23rd. And summertime, I don't know when they meet, but we'll keep an eye out for this for next month to see what we can find out. St. Ferdinand's Annual Picnic. It's coming up in August. We'll talk more about that in July. Coming up wicked soon is St. William's Parish Picnic out in Tewksbury. It's free food. Hamburgers, hot dogs, watermelon. A great time. It's going to be June 22nd, 11:30 a.m. to 3:30. You park at the church. This is a pathway over to the Oblate residence. It'll be a yummy time for everybody. Hope to see you there. That's it. Back to you, Cliff. Thank you for your patience.
Okay, so back to education. The conclusion of the article is the red states are doing okay, or doing better than blue states, because blue states are all concerned about DEI as opposed to educating the students. Do you think this is a fair characterization?
Well, it's probably one of many characterizations. But is there truth to it? Maybe, to a small extent. I don't think it's the only reason that, blue states' education seem to be behind the red states. And again, I think population is one of them. I think two-parent households is one of them. And there are, other situations as well, is my guess. So I can't just pin it on DEI.
Well,
Just look at Utah. They have multi-parent house.
no, they don't.
Student-teacher ratio.
Yes,
No,
they still
don't.
do.
No, there's a few Jack Mormons, but that's it. That's unfair to the.
Jack Llama is, Cliff. I'm sorry, that's a dumb guy.
You don't know what a what?
Jack Llama.
Jack Mormon.
Still don't know what that is.
Okay, people who are out there with multiple wives.
Well, that happens in Massachusetts. Ever hear of baby mamas?
Ever hear what?
Baby mamas.
Babe, oh, yeah, I've heard of that term, yes, baby mamas, yes.
So what do
Yes.
you think? You think it's DEI, Regina?
So I think that we need to concentrate more on the 3 R's. And if DEI is preventing us from doing that, we need to take a good, hard look at what we're teaching in the classroom. Because feel-good stuff is wonderful, but education is essential. And I think that we may be forgetting that. So I teach college part-time, and I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of Lawrence High School students because they do a early college program with Northern Essex. And I gotta say, those kids, smart, asking tons of questions. And in our college bound, I've written several letters of recommendation for my students to go to college. And so they have a mindset there. They have 5 different high schools. Every high school has a different set of educational goals. They have a strong mindset of how are we going to get our students into college and into the trades. And they are laser focused on that, and I applaud them tremendously. And I think that, I've taught at Whittier Tech. Laser focused. Laser focused. They do not have big DEI component, but they are laser focused on getting kids to college or into the trades. So one of the last classes I taught, Fred, a young man in the class was going to MIT. And he was part of the computer group that they had there. And I said, okay, so this is the new grouping of vocational schools. A lot of kids go to college. This kid was going to MIT.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure. We have a graduate from Greater Lowell Tech this year going to MIT.
Okay, so I think you have to, and they're very focused on a lot of literature, a lot of reading and writing. And I never saw any DEI, because of course I came in and taught a college course.
Mm-hmm.
But I think school districts need to think about their main focus, and their main focus is educating students. And that may not always be, that might sometimes clash with some DEI stuff, but the main focus has to be educating students. So
Sure.
how are we going to make that happen?
Sure.
So I see the clock is 7:31, and I'm going to take my leave. It's been lovely being here with you. Were you putting your hand out so we could shake?
Yeah,
Okay, thank
that
you.
was my way of saying, get out of here.
Okay, all right, so everybody, I had car problems yesterday. I got a shout out to these great people in Hampton Beach, RJB Auto, who now have my car, and it's all fixed, and I'm going to get it. Driving my neighbor's car.
And I'll likely see you Sunday morning for breakfast at Uma's.
I would love that.
That's all.
You just tell me the
That's a
time.
forecast. We'll text.
Okay, thank you. So you two have a good afternoon, a good morning.
Good
And
luck
I'm-
getting that car. Hopefully, it runs properly for you and you don't have any more issues with it.
They were great mechanics, very honest. So they were awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, thanks, guys. Take care.
Thanks.
I'm gonna
Yes,
take
great
my
seeing
leave.
you, Regina.
Thank you. Great seeing the both of you also. Let me take my water. Oh my goodness, all my stuff.
Hopefully, we'll see you soon.
Yes,
While we're doing this, I'm gonna read this.
hopefully
text.
we'll see you at your party.
And it says,
I like it. I like it. I guess it's time for a party. Cliff, shall I move over?
Yeah, move over.
Sure.
Fred, there we go.
Okay.
Please don't forget, the kids also have to be accountable. Also, the kid that had parents who hold them accountable for the school work have better students. Very true.
So I'm developing a new theory. Teachers are ranch hands. The parents are the ranchers. They're responsible for getting the product to market. The ranch hands help.
And that's fair to say. We
Yippee-yi-yo.
need the parents to go ahead and be involved with the students, but it's not an easy thing, unfortunately, because there are a lot of single-parent households. And, we did talk about DEI and Utah and red states and all of that. Again, back to two-parent households. And, what are the percentage of two-parent households in cities, gateway cities like Lowell, in respect to cities in Utah? It might be a different number. Now, you're saying the divorce rate in Utah is about the national average, is that correct?
No.
Did I hear you say that?
No. Parents married is around 55%, as opposed to something like 30 or 35% in Massachusetts.
Okay, so there's a big...
There's a big gap.
There's a big gap. And with that big gap, sometimes education doesn't work in single-parent households as well as it does in two-parent households.
I blame Jim Hayes.
Okay, well, I don't know who Jim Hayes is, but, I'm sure we're going to find out in a second.
Well, there's
No.
the guys slide the fact that many parents feel, not my job. I'm sending my kid to school. When I call a plumber to come fix my toilet issue, I don't help.
Again, I'm not the professional, right?
So we have teachers there to teach and there is a mindset that really believe the teachers teach my kids, when they come home, they have fun with mommy and daddy.
I
Teaching
have a
time is over.
slightly different view. If I call the plumber, I think that it's my job to be there to help the plumber if he needs anything.
Well, Cliff,
If he needs tissues to blow his nose, my job is to be
I
there.
understand, but most people, with regard to the plumber, stay away. There's a sign. I'm $125 an hour. If you watch, I'm $150. If you ask questions, I'm $175. If you help, it's $300 an hour. You've seen those kind of signs. And there are parents out there that really believe that when my kid comes home, it's time to play on the phone and eat apple pie. Never mind schoolwork. That should have happened in school. A small percentage I'll give you, but there are parents out there, that's what they believe. We don't have parent school.
Yeah, and that's why I was disappointed that I thought Zoe Dzinko was going to give us that parent school, and it never happened. But
We do have a school in the Lowell school system that assists parents that don't speak English as a first language in giving them guidance on how to read books, and we give them books in Lowell Public Schools to the parents so that they can read to their children at home. So Zoe was a person that was a part of that department that did that. So it actually has come to fruition.
so I'm going to pull some
But has been
statistics that are 2 years old.
Has not been sunset.
Still going on?
Still going on.
Good.
So 2 years ago, statistics, and these are what I would call the non-academic indicators of performance. Tardiness, unexcused absences, drop out early, did they go to college? And if you take our community, the ones that did the best in those indicators are the Asian Americans. Next best are the blacks. Next best are the Caucasians. And the worst are our Hispanic members of the community. So somehow Asian Americans and blacks who are immigrants managed to break the code about education and keep their kids involved, making sure they got to school on time, making sure they didn't cut class, making sure they didn't drop out, making sure they went on to college.
It's very similar in Lowell in the sense,
That is Lowell.
right, in the sense that the graduation rate read the question. I guess that,
Respectfully, the schools go around blaming everyone else for everything. The school buildings are falling apart. One household families give us solutions, not excuses. Jay, the thing is, the mothers have got to engage. And if they can engage, look, I'm working 2 jobs, I don't have the time to teach my kid. Cool. Are you feeding the kid lunch? DSS shouldn't get involved and see, is mom feeding the kid? What are the conditions at the house? And if everything's okay, this kid needs to go to a special class after school to help him or her read. Does anything happen like that in Lowell, Fred? To your knowledge? I'll ask Eileen the same question.
ask the question again, John.
Is there any program out there that takes a look at the single-parent families on the living conditions?
Not that I know of.
If the kid's doing poorly in class,
Well, that would be within the school building itself, and they do try to tutor that child up so that they can go ahead and get that student up to speed with the other students in his classroom. So we do have that tutoring
and can
that we offer
can
when
the
we see
mother
kids slipping.
reject this training?
Can the mother reject this trend? Well, realistically, it seems like, and it's a lot of the times, the parents aren't involved. So they don't get involved if a student is behind. It's really on the school district, which is to your point earlier. So can the parents get involved? Would love for them to, but it's unfortunately not always the case. I was over at the Friends of Tyler Park program last night where we had a band and a concert, and it was just wonderful. And I got to speak to parents, and one of the parents is sort of a coach over at Lowell Public, and not only are we feeding the students breakfast and lunch, but when she coaches, she shares that she drives them home, she picks them up, and she also makes them peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And I'm like, geez, that seems like you're doing an awful lot. And I know I did that when I coached Calorie Park baseball. But bottom line is, she says a lot of these parents don't have any money at all. And they don't really, I guess, feed their kids, because don't forget, we are feeding kids breakfast and lunch, in Lowell School District. And
Well,
we're
what
not
kind of
feeding
lunch
them dinner.
programs are happening over the summer? Aren't you guys giving lunch over summer?
We do, yes. There is lunch over the summer. I don't know the exact locations, but generally they're out towards the parks and the schools. So, but yes, we do. So unfortunately, the parents, again, aren't there. So a lot of the times, the school district has to try to figure out how to move that child forward. So you can talk to Eileen about that, and let's see if she might have the same view or a different view. Or even if she's there.
Eileen, you still there, kiddo?
Eileen,
Okay, I'm sorry, I had you guys on mute. So no, there is no program in Lowell to say maybe this is a single mom who's struggling or whatever, or a single dad struggling.
do we
Hold
need
on.
something like that?
Well, it's one more layer that the school district has to do.
But I have to get going because Anthony just woke up and he's looking for me. I just came down to grab something for breakfast.
All right.
Have a great weekend.
Eileen, I'll see you in
Okay.
2 weeks.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Have a good
Bye.
one.
So, I'm sorry Eileen went away, because I'd mentioned this to her before. I thought maybe she had a chance to do some research. Out in Texas, there's some outfit that's using artificial intelligence to teach students. And they're claiming that they're taking 2 hours a day to teach the kids using artificial intelligence, that allows the kids to completely handle the Common Core that's been given to us by the federal government, and then they have all that extra time to do whatever they want.
They're claiming that they're teaching kids 2 hours a day. Do we know if it's working? I think that's the most important thing.
Well, the claim is that they're doing well on the Common Core. How's it read? There are apparently excellent students are able to learn the entire Common Core curriculum in 2 hours a day
Through AI,
through AI.
through artificial intelligence. And how long has this been implemented for? Because there is something to
A
be
year
said
or
about
so.
being in the classroom, right?
A year or
And
so.
this AI does not seem like it's the classroom.
Well,
It seems like it's more computer-based.
yeah.
So we know what that looked like during COVID, when the students weren't going to class and they were doing Zoom classes, and how much
That was terrible.
of a failure that it truly was.
I think-
And we don't know how if this is proven or not in Texas, or if there's just some article that spit out that said this is the way, the new way of the future of teaching students. And I would say it's unproven.
Should it be, is it worth exploring?
Everything's worth exploring, but like, Ms. Faticanti said a moment ago, the 3 R's are what's most important, right?
Yeah.
And if you're going to keep exploring new ways of curriculum and new ways of educating, you're sort of losing yourself and the newfangled thing than you are in what was proven in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah, but those were all failures.
Were they failures? Seems like America has grown pretty well for the people that have, what should I say, been educated through public schools in the 70s and 80s, it seems like America has really prospered in my life. And I am sort of living proof of it. There's been a lot of prosperity. So the growth of America has never stagnated, and a lot of it is due to its public education. And this is America. This is not Massachusetts. This is not Lowell. This is all of the United States.
Didn't everyone struggle in the 70s? This feel-good society will never get better until kids are held accountable for their actions and not victims. That's from Jay.
I agree. We should be held accountable. All the kids should be held accountable for their actions. And that includes showing up to school, that includes being on time, that includes engaging in the classroom. It includes not feeling that they have the rights to talk back to the teachers and disrupt the classroom. Because the disruption is what proves to fail the school district and that particular classroom.
Interesting comment that you have there, Fred, and I'm going to ask you, would body cams help the teachers? Like the cops in Lowell have to wear body cams now. And after watching Cops TV or whatever TV show you want to talk about, and they have that cop camera on them, they don't use the F word like they used to. They're not as aggressive against the police officer as they would have been without a video. And so I've got to wonder if you guys could experimentally pick a school that does video and audio recorded in every classroom to see if behavior is better. Because when I can show little Freddie in class giving the teacher the finger, and it's on video, when you go home and when you call the parent and look, if the kid's giving the finger, he's using the magical F word, he's disrupting the class. Not my little Cliff. My little Cliff's an angel. You have no proof. I'm just throwing it out there, Fred, as an idea.
Sure. No, it's actually, a pretty good idea to go ahead and pilot something like
tell the
that to
parents, look,
see
if
if
this
it
is
would
what we're gonna
work.
do. Yeah.
And, in a school that has a lot of disruption. Because, unfortunately, some schools are work a little bit better than others in any district. So
Because
could
I
that be
like-
helpful? It could be.
I'd like to hear about the Rogers School, okay? I remember going over there to read to a class. And you walk down the hallway, and it's like a loud classroom. Every classroom we went by, there was not a teacher teaching, but still a lot of kids talking during class. With this principle we have now, that don't happen. So management at school is important, because when I go to visit the Rogers School, it isn't like I go every day, maybe once a year, then I'll get in the class and get in the school and see how quiet it is
Sure.
under the management of this guy.
Right. And I walked through the Rogers School earlier this fall, and it was quiet, and you could tell that there was a lot of teaching going on. So there is something to be said about that, and trying to, again, get away from the disruption. So, and how do you do that? Could body cams work? They could. I do know that the teachers have the support of the principals. I also know that the principal over at the Wayne School, for the past few years, there was a lot of disruption going on, and it was beginning to fail. So we had to end up getting a interim principal over there who happened to be the assistant principal at the Rogers STEM, and he did an effective job in bringing the classrooms back in order. And ultimately, we've hired a full-time principal for that school, but disruption is something that, Liam Skinner, Lowell Public Schools is looking at to go ahead and better the learning environment in the schools.
Good.
So we're getting a new commissioner down in Boston, Pedro Martinez, heading up education.
Yes, where's he come from? California?
Chicago.
Chicago, right. Yes. So
Right.
we'll see what his new ideas and plans are for the state education. He seems like he was handpicked by the current administration, who,
Yes.
who with vocational schools made it more of a lottery, and are sort of not, holding kids accountable for getting into, a technical school and such like that. So I hope that our new commissioner can think for himself and a little differently, more so than from the administrative side of government.
I'm not hopeful. He said, this representation is critical because when students see adults who look like them, who speak their language, and who share their experiences, it transforms their view of themselves and what they can achieve. Speaks their language? Don't we all speak it? Well, I mean, granted, it's Massachusetts, but still, English? Don't we all speak English? I don't know.
We all do speak English, but there are multi-languages. I think there's over 70 languages spoke in Lowell High School from our student body. So there is something to be said about having, maybe a Muslim as a teacher, or Hispanic teachers, and so on and so forth, to be able to engage with the student body in their own language and understanding the way that they sort of think, because they grew up in that type of household.
We're gonna grab these two, and
Yep.
if teachers wore body cams, we would be horrified at how bad the kids behave. Not all kids, but it only takes a few to bring the whole class down. Next text says, the greed of the country has certainly increased over the last 45 to 50 years. It started out with Moses. When Moses walked down the mountain, people worshiped gold over God. Always will, always have.
Yes, greed is, money is what's taught realistically, and that's what kids focus on, and that's what adults focus on. Unfortunately, what is the stock market doing today? What is the value of my home? How much money do I have in the bank?
Well, before we run out of time, I just want to ask you this, Fred. I like technology. I don't think the schools are going in a good direction, telling the kids to shut these off when they get to school every day. I think that we should embrace the technology that's in this. These cell phones are not going away. These cell phones have proven to people who live in different countries that, America does have they got a nice place over there. When you look at the videos that we create from our cell phones globally, you see how beautiful this country is. You say, well, geez, those people, look at the car that guy's got. So I think, but getting back to the school department, I think that there's some research should be done to see, can we include cell phones in our technology in schools? Because with AI, pretty soon you're going to be able to get on the phone with your assistant, your personal assistant, and just say, look, I want to go on a 10-day cruise out of Boston. Give me some options. What ships are going to go? I'm looking to keep the price down, and I want a balcony. And instantly it gives you an answer. Why do I need to look all this stuff up if this thing's going to give me the answer right away? Just something to consider.
Sure. But it gets your mind thinking. My daughter was with me the other day, and she's been cooking a lot lately, and she hadn't been cooking a lot regularly. And she said, Dad, I have some ingredients in my refrigerator. I have some chicken, and I have some curry, and I have some salt, and I have some garlic, and I have some soy sauce, and so on and so forth. And I speak to ChatGPT, and I tell them the ingredients that I have, and they spit out a recipe for me to cook, and it comes out outstanding. I do it all the time. I'm like, wow, Maddie, that's impressive. So yes, it can be beneficial. However, if we also try to teach kids to think on their own. And I think that's pretty important, because and technology is here to stay, and technology is not going away. But I don't know if we all become robotic if we start with the whole ChatGPT and AI and your own personal assistant, and sort of taking the guidance, which is great guidance a lot of the time, of your phone, because sometimes you can't think for yourself. Like, how do I'm a dad of 4 children, and I didn't have AI to help raise my children, who are all 4 very successful. I'm very grateful that great things happened in my children's lives. But I had to sort of, I had to reprimand them. I had to have discussions with them. I had to teach them how to shake hands and look in people's eyes. I had to have them do chores. I had to have them participate in family events. I had game nights. I invited their friends over and had social times. AI was not part of my forte. And it seemed to work. I read to them, right, which is all the things that we're trying to get the parents to do within the Lowell school system. So AI could work, but I don't know that it's, the be-all, tell-all that's going to
I want to
make,
hear what Cliff has to say.
all the
and
difference
We
in
only
the
got 4 minutes left.
go ahead.
I agree that we need to be integrating the electronic computer age into our school systems, because going out as graduates, the important things they have to know are what kind of questions to ask ChatGPT, and then as they review it, what supplemental questions they're going to ask. And this is the way things are going to work in the future. And the valuable employees will be the ones who know how to make the AI work best for the company. So I'm all for it. And
I was enjoying this discussion the other day with one of my friends over dinner, and he thinks absolutely not. And I said, okay, how did you get to this restaurant today? He said, I used Waze. You used a computer, didn't you? You didn't take your way, you used a computer.
Sure.
to
We
get-
all, right? We all
And now you
use,
don't want to, so you're using that to get you here. You don't make a connection. We sort of understood after that.
That's great that you asked that question, John. But yes, I mean, you can integrate it to work, right?
Yeah.
But it can't be the end of it all, because we do have to think for ourselves. But you're right, ask the right
Yeah.
questions.
On the other hand, I can't remember where I was coming back from. I was at Coles. I was heading up to Palm Springs, the rehab hospital. And instead of going up Route 3, I went south out of Coles, and then at the next traffic light turned north. And I thought it'd take me up to Parkhurst, and it didn't. But the fact is, I was able to look around. I saw Drum Hill. I saw where I came out. I made a left turn and put myself back on the right road, and one more left turn, and I was on my way. It was the fact that I was able to recognize the things around me. And I think that the students have to learn how to recognize the things around them, the things given to them by AI, and to see how to juggle that around and make it work. You don't always have to use Waze. Sometimes you can use your brain.
Sure. And unfortunately, we have all integrated ways into our lives. But realistically, it's important to know the roads that you're on and know the difference between Chelmsford Street and Bridge Street.
Yeah.
And all the streets of Lowell, Massachusetts, and be able to navigate through.
So Cliff, great show today. I'm glad the missus is doing well. Big red dog. Enjoy your time off. Just so the audience knows, we're not going to do a live show for 2 weeks. We'll be back live July 7th. So Cliff, how is Martha, just in case they weren't listening the first time, how's Martha doing?
She's improving. She's able to sit up on the side of the bed for over a minute and play games with the physical therapist, moving cones back and forth. So I think we're making progress,
Beautiful.
and I'm happy about that.
But you can still use the prayers.
Yes, absolutely.
That's great news.
So say a prayer for Martha on your prayer list, please. Thank you.
So a happy 4th of July to everyone, and I hope that the summer is coming in well for you. And we need to be optimistic, and we need to be positive, because that's the way things get done in this country. You're optimistic, you think things can happen, you make things happen.
Amen. I agree. It makes a big difference to have great thinking, positive thinking, and try to, be positive to others that are around you
Yeah.
in your daily walk, because
Say
it just
goodbye,
makes
kids.
life roll so well. Happy 4th of July, everyone. Great being on the show.
See you next time. Thanks for watching.